What's going on, guys? Upset City here, episode 7 of Takeover to Title, and completion of series check. We have gone from taking over Fort Lewis to bringing them to the title game. So, awesome run that I've had. I've really enjoyed it. I'm actually probably going to stay at Fort Lewis until something more interesting comes up, because right now they're kind of my only real team. So, I wanted to go over my team game plan, depth chart, player game plan, team structure, everything, so that you guys could see, as well as my national tournament run, so you guys can see what everything that happened. So onto the second tab, we have my history. I took over right before season 202. So whatever, like RS1. I got a couple guys. Around this time is when the cheater came in, and I want to say I wanted to say screwed up the series, but honestly, I reflect back and really feel like he maybe saved the series in a way, because I was kind of just putting pieces together that didn't really. I was being lazy with my recruiting. I felt like, and when things don't go my way at D2, I kind of just go like, whatever. I'll just leave the team. Like, it doesn't matter. I'll just leave the team, and that kind of gave me a little bit more motivation to uh, push through. And then I ended up, because I got such a bad class, I was able to cut a lot of those guys and kind of do a hard reset around that 205, 206. I guess it would have been 204, 205 region. I was able to kind of do a real good hard reset, and then for that freshman class coming into 205 was able to then sophomore, junior, senior years win it. As always, this is my team game plan. I've showed this in the past. I only really ever changed my tempo, and I'll explain why. I should not have done it. It was not a good idea, and it worked out, as well as my positioning. I didn't really ever change anything else, so that helped. If this is helpful for you guys, you're more than welcome to copy it. Yeah, there's nothing down there. This was my player game plan. This was my player game plan all postseason. So I had my big three scorers: Byrne, Blevins, and Pfeiffer at 17 to start the postseason. I did have Blevins, I think, at 16, and I want to say I don't think I had anyone at 18. So I think it was 16, and then both those 17. I think that I had him at like 12, him at maybe 12 coming in like midway through the postseason. And then I was kind of looking and thinking, you know what, when my bench comes in, I really need them to be picking up where some of the starters are leaving off, as well as my bench just lacked scoring. So I really wanted to push through those guys. I don't ever really change based on. I'll get into that because I'm going to go over my postseason run in a second. So this was about what I had my plan as. Blevins is a phenom scorer, and I'll show him in a moment. But I went 16 to start because point guards typically overshoot the rest of your roster. But he's so good that I was like, you know what, I'll just bring him up to 17, and at least he's in line with everyone else. If he shoots a little bit more, I'm okay with that. Oh, I thought I had my depth chart listed. Oh, well, let's get right into the players then. Uh, Blevins was my starting point guard. Obviously, he is a superstar, right? I did debate before the season started uh, how I was going to kind of handle my big three of Blevins, Pfeiffer, and Byrne, where they're both like they're all three of them are like these phenomenal scorers, but they're all three guards, and they could play the one through the three, but it kind of gives me a not super great point guard. I mean, I'm talking about just from a purely guard skill standpoint. He's good. It's just like I like those 85s, those 90s. So, but I didn't really have that anyway. So then it was, am I really going to force a junior or a sophomore into the starting lineup and have them with get what 8 more ball handling, maybe like 8 more passing or something like that, but then lose out on a third big scorer? I've long thought that having 3 scorers, and I think Trail said this in that D1 video, having 3 scorers in a lineup is so nice. But anything more than that kind of feels like overkill, and then anything under that feels pretty easy to manage from a defensive. Like the opposing team it's a lot easier to manage if you have one scorer. I can, I'm man or zone, I could double, or a press, I could just go heavy positive or negative, or I I felt the extra scoring was more beneficial than having a true point guard in there if my true point guard was not nearly going to be as good as Blevins. So Blevins would have started anyway. It would have been probably Byrne who would have got pushed to the bench. Anyway, Blevins is a rock star. He had a phenomenal postseason. I mean, funny enough, I wanted him to shoot a ton in the championship. He shot 3 shots after going into almost 15, 10 to 15 most games. He proceeds to take 3, but he has 9 assists. So awesome. Really like him. His backup was Schwartz. Schwartz is who I was just talking about. Where yeah, I can get him in there, but I'm only increasing the passing by whatever. I'm even losing some ball handling. He's very good. I love Schwartz, but is the difference between him and Blevins' ball handling enough to justify putting Byrne on the bench? And my answer was like an emphatic no. I will also say this lineup was nothing I really even. I did not even think of this on my own. I I was about to say I networked. Sorry, I've been looking for jobs in health tech, and I'm so used to networking right now. I guess I did network though. I messaged some of the guys in NAAA Phelan and was like, before the season started, and said, "What would you guys have as your postseason lineup?" And sometimes it's easy to I was overthinking it, and they said, they would have done what I eventually ended up doing, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, how did I overlook that?" So always important to reach out and ask questions to people and get second opinions, because sometimes we just fall into habits of doing it one way. Shores is awesome. He came off the bench, or no, he started most of half the season. He is a great passer. He distributes well. He defends well. He has awesome stamina. Really like him. Solid piece. Thought he was going to be my starting point guard. Ended up not happening that way, but really like him. Byrne. Okay, so Byrne might be. I posted this in the Discord. He might be like one of my favorite players ever. Where, yes, I played a beat up of Sims, but he shot 66% from the field on 12 points, almost 13 points a game. To put that into context, he not only did he lead Fort Lewis, does he lead Fort Lewis's all-time efficiency from the field as a guard, which, I mean, if you look at the other guards in Fort Lewis history, it's a lot of guys from like when they used to play plumbers, and it's when there's not even like ratings available, so I can't even. For all I know, those guys all had 100 low posts, and it was a different era. So in the current era of HD, he leads Fort Lewis's percentages by 4% at 56, and he is. If you were to like just look at these seasons, consider this: he chucked his freshman year and lowered his rating, and then I didn't let him take as many shots the following 2 seasons. If I had really pushed him, he would be like an all-time efficient scorer, not just in Fort Lewis history, but in the world's history. So. He not only, and so you could say like, oh, 66% against the sim, who cares? Like, it's all sims. You played a weak conference. He shot the same, even better. I normally take out this game because first round is always just an easier layup of a game. He shot 66% against true competition. He, I did the math. It's in the Discord. Like had like a 70 something or 80 something true shooting. As well as he dished the ball better than he ever has in his career. He had awesome steals, like awesome player. He's maybe my favorite because he's not a traditional like Blevins you could look at and be like, okay, yeah, duh, he's awesome. Like when you have 100 perimeter and 100 stamina, you're going to be good. But he's different because he doesn't have that. He has it's all coming from his low post, and he kind of panned out exactly how I wanted him to. So. Really liked Blevins, or not Blevins, Byrne, man, so overrated. I keep mixing up his name. Love him as a player, and glad I was able to find out how to get him in the starting lineup as my starting shooting guard. Negron. Okay, so Negron was somebody I tried to cut for a few seasons to the point where it was like, okay, I guess I'm not cutting him because at this point he's already a junior, so there's no point in me cutting him. And even as a junior, I was like, if I get this guy lined up, I will for sure cut Negron, and I just lost the battle. So then I had a late D1 push, so I never signed that guy, which meant that I was just going to keep Negron. But it's not like he's bad by any means, right? Like 85, he's got a decent athleticism and defense. He's got the good scoring. I always just didn't like that his perimeter never got to like the high 80s, low 90s, but he still shot really well. He's got the stamina is awesome. And then if you look at his stats, I mean, 47%. Again, he was beating up on a bunch of sims, but even in the postseason, he shot okay. Pfeiffer, obviously a superstar. One thing you'll notice is that not just Byrne having 70 whatever low post, Pfeiffer has 53 low posts. Blevins had 50 something low posts, or maybe 60. These guys can all score, and when you see my big men, you'll understand that that was very important because I lacked a lot of true scoring at the big man position. So, uh, I mean, Pfeiffer's a superstar. I mentioned a moment ago, I think, that I reflected back on the cheater and how that kind of reset me, and how, but that also did kind of awkwardly stagger my classes as well at the time. Pfeiffer, if you guys remember, I actually got from was signed by the cheater, and he went JUCO across the U.S. And I waited a day and a half, and then I was like, all right, well, if nobody else is going to take him, I'm going to go for him. So in a way, it was like the cheater repaying me, but yeah, I mean, 87, 85, 74. That's phenomenal defense, superstar scorer. Yes, I wish I had 90 ball handling, but like if he had 90 ball handling, he'd be in D1. So I never pushed his rebounding. I had an opportunity to late. I didn't know how much defense push I had left. I should have tracked that better. Uh, I could have pushed rebounding. Ultimately, he's, I guess, 10 rebounding, and he gets to say 14. Is that significantly more important than like one or two low post, one or two in pass? I don't know. It just felt negligible, especially since, I mean, I guess I could have because he ended up running the 3, and I could have used a little rebounding. But again, I don't really value rebounding in press, especially at my guard, at my 1 through 3. Baldwin. This is my first introduction of Baldwin to you guys. He is signed last season. I signed him as a JUCO. I only had one slot available after, I believe, Aaron Collins left and graduated. He's interesting because he's very good. You can see how much color he has left. But you'll notice I never even looked to push his low post, which would have been, if I could have gotten that to 30, he'd be phenomenal. I never even looked to push his low perimeter. I went to go push his passing, defense, and speed. Because ultimately, I don't care. He's never going to score for me. Or I'm sorry, maybe he would have next season, but I don't care about next season because I'm not going to be good anyway. He has 3 things he needs to do. He needs to be a point guard and pass. He needs to defend, and he needs to be on the court. Stamina, athletic, speed, whatever. So like, that was stupid. I said he had 3 things to do, and then I named like awkwardly like 2/4 things. Point guard being he needs speed. Point guard meaning he needs passing. He needs to be able to play defense effectively. I need him to stay on the court as much as I can. I don't really care if he scores for me or not. Negron's there for that. Estrella, who you'll see in a second, is there for that. There's Prescott was there to be a bench scorer. I didn't really need Baldwin to do that, so I just pumped only the categories that I knew he needed to fill this season. Cross out some of this stuff as well. Leave. Okay. Estrella I signed last year, and honestly, he's kind of panning out to be one of these guys like Byrne, where he's just going to have like mid-70, and he's probably going to be a super great down low scorer. It just sucks because his junior and senior year, I'm not shaping up to be nearly as strong. So then it's like, well, what's the point of even having him? This popped right away, so that's why I never pushed his perimeter. It turns, I think, at like 25, so I don't really care to have 58 perimeter, or 50, whatever it is, 56. No, whatever. That's stupid. Here's what I cared about. I cared about him being able to play the 2, so I need his ball handling and passing up. I care about his stamina. I want to have the option to go up tempo. I do care about his scoring some. Like, if he can throw in a couple buckets, I don't mind that. And I care about his defense. And that's all like things I ended up addressing over the last 2 seasons to make sure that he was as prepared for playing his 15-ish minutes a game. Now, my starting bigs. Neely is my highest, or of the 2 starting bigs, he is the highest scoring with 62 low posts. That is not great. He did have some distro, I think, but really not a whole lot. He's not there to score. So, of course, in the championship game, he proceeded to go 7 of 10 and put up a double-double, or a 14 and 7, I'm sorry, in the championship game. I mean, he's a very good defender, and I really like that at the 5 slot, he's got good passing. It's not that I really value that a whole lot, but it's better than 1-1 in ball handling and passing. He's efficient enough of a scorer, but when you have 3 guys who are as elite at scoring as my first three that it's like, well, I don't really need him to score. He's got the rebounding, which again, whatever. He's got good defense. He's got good shot blocking. Uh, yeah, like he's just good. I liked him as a five. He's just not special, and I think that's kind of why I get bothered by guys. Is like I beat up on my teams a lot because I'm like, if every player is not a hyper unique player, an awesome player, then I'm like, you suck. But realistically, he's just a good big. That's fine. Teesberg, kind of the same. Really like that ball handling at the 4 slot, where I think I ended up starting him. But he didn't have any scoring ability. David Thomas was my backup 4, again, mostly because of the speed and ball handling. Great defender. Issue is that you'll start to see I start to run into some stamina issues from my backup bigs that I didn't love, which kind of is the reason why my championship game plan. I'll explain why I did what I did. It's very stupid, but yeah, just like this was his main concern, and I was dumping in a ton of. You could tell by how much speed he got. I was dumping in as much practice as I could into his stamina. Prescott is a superstar. It sucks that his junior and senior year will be littered with bad team play. I may have to redshirt him his senior year just to try and keep him so that he's like a senior when my incoming class is fresh or whatever. They're going to be freshmen, whatever. They're like sophomores and juniors. They'll be juniors. So I could redshirt him. I'll say, I don't know. I'm leaning towards not, but man, I really like him. He was my backup 5. Farron was my backup 4-5. He's like a third string. Again, I kind of punted on rebounding, kind of punted on shot block. He turned out a lot cruddier than I wanted, especially that stamina did not really do anything. I've been trying to cut Farron for I tried cutting him as a freshman. I tried cutting him as a sophomore. I actually planned to cut him as a sophomore, and I forgot to cut him. And the guy I was going to replace him with signed. And even that guy was not. It was a trade-off. Like it wasn't really. I wasn't getting any better, so I don't mind. I've just had this deep hatred for him since I started because, like, I don't know. I was kind of just hoping something would pop more, and nothing really ended up popping. He kind of turned quickly on a lot of stuff. Like this was my fault for even signing him, but whatever. Don't like Farron. Don't care. Here's my depth chart. Now, this is my depth chart I ran the whole postseason, except in the championship game, I opted to go for up-tempo into press. It was not a good idea in my opinion. However, I did end up doing it. So what I did was I actually took Estrella out and put in Pfeiffer. That way Estrella, when he was playing, he'd shift up into the small forward where with his ball handling and passing, remember, they're in like the 50s. I don't really want him in my point guard, shooting guard slots. I mean, if he's there, it's fine. But I don't, and he's not a bad player. I just didn't really want him at shooting guard. I kind of value a little bit ball handling and passing too much here. Whereas you'll see, like, I have Baldwin over him, Estrella on this part, but then I have Estrella over Baldwin here. I guess you could argue that Baldwin's better defensively. Maybe he should have had a slot. I don't know. But the whole rest of the postseason, it was Estrella here. I was running normal. Estrella played a couple minutes here. He normally played here because Negron's stamina is so insane, and so is Burns, that he never really even got into this slot. He was typically the backup 3 because Negron can't jump into both slots at once. And then in the championship, I also did Prescott as the double backup. I wanted him soaking up as many minutes as I could. Let me see. I don't even know if that changed anything. Yeah, he went from like 16, 14, 14, 13. He had his season or bench high of 17, so it gets him a couple more minutes. Not substantial, but at least it soaks up a couple minutes from Thomas and Farron, who are low stamina bigs. That also, I mean, Farron's not even all that talented either, so. Okay, I'm not going to go super into this game plan. This was my first round. This was just a talent difference. I don't even know. I may have not even planned for this, just assuming that I would win. I may have looked at the team for a second and assumed I won. I didn't really look at all. I don't think. Missouri, I ended up running, I think it was a +1. Yeah, +1. They don't have a lot of ball handling and passing. Let me put down my Celsius for a second. They don't have a lot of ball handling and passing from their, other than their point guard, maybe? No, this is their point guard, and he's 62.51, 64.71, 79.44. That's not really great guard skills, so I was just kind of going with I was hoping to force more turnovers. Actually, it looks like, yeah, we turned them over 22 times. That's mainly what I was just trying to do, was just force as many turnovers as I could. And outside of that, I mean, again, my star 3 should have really just popped here. Against Tarleton, they actually do shoot a lot of threes, so I kept it at a +1. Let me look at his 2. I beat him by 30 or something in the not expedition, in the regular season. I beat him by a bit. He doesn't really have any big scores, so it's like I was very scared of his shooting ability. Oh, maybe I was. Okay, well, yeah, I was scared of his shooting ability. So I just +1 and figured that my bench was a lot better than his, and good, very good, okay. Now we're starting to get into like, this guy can't even defend. This guy's not a strong defender. Not a strong defender. And I think that I was just kind of in the mindset of at least, 15-ish minutes in throughout the game, I'm just going to have a bunch of guys who aren't super strong defenders and cannot score. I should outshoot them. I think my scores were better. And, yeah, Tarleton ended up being a 34-point game. West Oregon. Okay, so this is against my friend Andrew, who I introduced to the game. You may recognize him as the coach at Miami and Tark, who had a three-peat not too long ago. He is he's done great at Western Oregon. I ran a very strategic plan here where I looked at the clock and said, oh no, it's 2 p.m. And by the time I opened up my phone, the game had simmed. So I actually I ran a +1 still. He also, so I texted him, we joked around. He also had forgotten to plan because he's been so crazy busy with work that he said that he forgot to plan. So I think I win. I beat him last season in the postseason. I don't think that he had the superstar ability that I have. Let me see. I think DeJean, I remember being good, but I checked that after the fact. Good, but he's lacking some of the speed. Like, my guys my big 3 don't really have flaws, right? Like, I guess you could say athleticism and some defense, but they don't really have a whole lot of flaws. So, my guys have better stamina. My guys have better athleticism, speed, defense. I assumed that this was a push, or I had that advantage. He's a good scorer, but he's a good shooter. Like, Pfeiffer is essentially this guy, but with 20 more in each of these categories, and maybe like 10 more here. And then Byrne is, like essentially the same, except better low post. So wasn't super worried about any of these guys. Really pumped that I was able to get the win on a game I didn't plan for. DeJean is awesome with that speed and low post combo, as well as his ball handling and that stamina. But so I probably would have went maybe -1 in this game, or I don't know, maybe I would have went +1. Maybe I would have +1. I don't know. And then a defensive big. Like, I think that I was going to win that game no matter what. So the plan, I feel bad when coaches reach out to me and they're like, I know you're really going to be digging into this plan. And I'm like, goodness, thanks for reminding me. Like, I need to plan. Go Pokes. I just reached out to him a couple minutes ago, actually, to talk about this game. He was leading very late, so I ended up opting for +1. I don't know if I changed it +1 all postseason, which I normally do. He had good shooter, superstar scorer, good scorer. Like, so I could have went 0. Maybe but +1 seemed to work. I mean, he shot 7 of 21. He also didn't shoot great from down low. I also didn't shoot great from down low. He got more free throw attempts. He made more free throws. I had a couple more shots. I talked to him about some of his bench stuff that he could have done. Ultimately, I'm okay with +1 in this situation. I'm okay with 0. I could even see a justification for a -1. But with this guy shooting so many threes, that's the thing, is like, I wouldn't have gotten any more because once this guy's off the court, his 16 attempts is now not impacting you, and like you don't want to go too positive because when he's not on the court, that's 17 minutes of gameplay where you're in a heavy positive and it's not doing anything. Okay, the championship game. Again, my postseason distro, my depth chart I already kind of went over. I did run +1 again. However, I went up tempo, and I'll tell you why. I reached out to, or a coach reached out to me and said, have you looked at the game? And I said no, and he said I would up tempo. I said I don't really think that up tempo is ever really a good idea unless they're like. I think that words matter in this situation where I don't think up tempo. You want to up tempo when there's a stamina advantage and a man advantage, but what are the benefits? How do I want to say that? I think that in 80 stamina, 12. So assume that both teams are, and I'm going to use a more extreme case. Say you're running two 12-man press teams. One is 85 stamina, one is 75 stamina. Or we can even go, for this example, 80 and 70. 70 is so bad that it's like the 80, yes, they're going to get hit with a little bit of fatigue issues, but the 70 is going to get destroyed by the fatigue issues. Now, what does the same impact affect, say if it's a 90 stamina and an 80 stamina, that up tempo? It's going to hurt the 80 stamina, but not nearly as much as it's going to hurt the 70 stamina. It's not like you're picking up the pace more because you have more or less fatigable guys, or if you have more guys with more stamina, it doesn't mean that the other team gets up-tempoed harder. It's more about creating a disadvantage, I guess. So I guess the next extreme would be, should a 100 stamina up-tempo into a 90 stamina? It's like, you're not really going to affect the 90 stamina. So then what's the advantage of doing it? Like, maybe you get a couple more minutes here and there, but like, ultimately, the advantage is very minimal. Anyway, I say all that, that's a long rant, but his point was, you are an 83 or 80 something team stand, 85, and UMass Lowell is a 79. Yes, I'm creating. That a 6 is a big advantage, but 79 isn't bad. It's just not 86, right? Or whatever the number was, 85, 86. And in fact, you can even open up UMass's history and see that against Dean, if I said your name wrong, I always just call you Dean. I don't know if it's Deanod or whatever. If we were to just look at UMass Lowell, whatever. When you record, you realize how much things you don't know how to say, how many things you don't know how to say. That's another example, I guess. Okay, so they're not fatigued here. I don't care what's happening with San Diego right now. They're not fatigued here. Keep in mind, still, motion, up-tempo, press. They are a little fatigued. They are a little fatigued. They are a little fatigued. A little, some, a little bit more maybe. Some. End of game, yeah. So the coach ended up saying, "I will pay you $100 if you lose and you run up tempo." So folks, I took that as, oh well, either I win or I get $100, and I think that this coach would have done the deal. So I did it, and no fatigue, little fatigue, no fatigue, no fatigue, no fatigue. Some fatigue, a little fatigue, some fatigue, but I'm also now just as fatigued as he is. Not a whole lot of fatigue. Game. So the fatigue advantage isn't even there anymore. So I don't think that up tempo was the move. In fact, after the game, a coach reached out and said, that was stupid that you went up tempo. And I went, I agree. I was thinking either I won a title or I made $100. Uh, I don't think I was going to burn out UMass's team. And my issue is if I had gone normal, yes, his guys maybe get an extra minute, but I think that Blevins, Byrne, and Pfeiffer all get maybe 2 extra minutes. And that is the important part is I wanted my guys healthy because I'm the more talented team, although he was also very, very good. Let me show you guys his team. Good point guard, but again, just a point guard. Like he's not a big scorer or anything. He could score okay, but good shooting guard, but doesn't have the ball handling. Sloan is not great as a 3 or at any spot right now. Elite big man, 96 stamina, holy. And I mean, he's ultimately one of the reasons I was like, okay, maybe I could up tempo, but like, and then get some of these bench guys to look at. Good, but like also good, but if he's in the game, he's having to play defense, and he's not very good at that. Okay, bad, okay, bad, great. Like I would have potentially tried to figure out how I can get Holt in other spots because he's so good. Good as a freshman. Okay. I probably would have wanted to try and get Sonny Lewis a couple more minutes too as a 5th-year senior with like he's got the ball handling, passing, speed. He's got some low posts, which would probably make him an effective scorer. I would have tried it, right? And he's in the NAAA, so I know he's going up against real competition. Maybe I would have tried to get him more minutes. I don't know. Anyway, I went up tempo. I think ideally I go normal because ultimately up tempo is hurting me more than it's hurting UMass, and I don't like that. I think that getting these guys a combined, say 2 to 3 more minutes, or I guess combined like 6 to 8 more minutes, is a lot more impactful. In fact, because I know UMass isn't really going to break fatigue out anyway. I'm not going to break their stamina. They're not going to fatigue out. I would even listen to a case for slowdown and just say, I know these guys are going to have to play. Why don't I slow down and just try and get these guys instead of 21, 23, 22? Why don't I try and get them 26, 27, minutes? Yeah, anyway. Hopefully this is helpful. I don't know. I don't really go over game planning because it's hard to do it retroactively, but I can't do it proactive, like ahead of time, mainly because it only takes me a minute to do most days anyway. Let me know if you have any questions. Hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully this series was helpful. I'm actually shocked that I ended up winning the title through the series. I kind of thought that if I didn't win this season, I was going to leave Fort Lewis and just pretend that this never happened. But because it did happen, I now can put on my resume that I called my shot at Fort Lewis and won. And I would have won even sooner if it wasn't for that cheater. And I'm just going to keep ranting. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. Shoot me a message on Discord, whatever. Talk to you later. Bye.